coal tar epoxy was illegal now.
Yeah, we don't use it anymore. It's true.
Back in the day, it was the thing, though.
Yeah, he was a good man. Crew, excellent work. Towards the end, he branched into crane operations as well too for us.
Yeah, he constructed a tank, we tore one out, and he built the new one from ground up.
Good morning, everybody. This is Melissa, and I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, President Balin, we are ready to go when you are.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the regular board meeting of May 25th, 2021 to order. Let me see, Melissa, would you please do the roll call?
Okay. Director Balin?
Here.
Director Boatwright?
Here.
Director Kern?
Here.
Director Murphy?
Here.
Director Ringen?
Here.
Okay, all 5 directors are present.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. At this point, we will have, we will now start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll go ahead and say it once he brings our flag up. You're all welcome to say it with me or put yourself on mute and I apologize for that. My video, so I have a wider bandwidth, and I won't be able to see anybody after this. So just have Director Kearns, could you please lead us in the pledge, because my connection is unstable.
I'd be honored to, Barbara. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to keep my video off so that I can continue talking. It's either one or the other, it seems. So with that, we'll open it up to the public forum. And we would like to welcome the members of the public who have taken the time to attend this meeting and provide comments on matters related to district business. Any member of the public may address the board relating to any matter within the board's jurisdiction. This need not be related to any item on the agenda. However, the board cannot act on an item unless it was noticed on the agenda. Persons speaking during the public comment will be limited to 5 minutes, or depending on the number of persons wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. So at this time, Corey, is there any member of the public that would like to address the board?
There is no public comment at this time.
Okay, sorry about that. I got bumped off again. All right, so let's move to the next item. Melissa, could you please read the item on?
Okay, item 1 on the consent calendar, minutes of the regular board meeting of May 11th, 2021, and special board meetings of May 6th, May 12th, and May 18th, 2021.
Thanks, Melissa. Would any board member like to discuss any of these agendas before we approve? Okay, I can't see anybody, but I'm assuming that there is no board member that wishes to pull this item. Okay, seeing none, then I will call for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and before we call a vote, I forgot to ask if there's any public comment before we vote on this item. Any public comment, Corey?
There is no public comment.
President
Okay,
Balin,
thank you.
I do see a member of the public, I believe Kath Christensen, had her hand up for a moment, but I am unsure if that was, now the hand is down. I'm not sure if she has comments on the minutes or if she's having trouble with the.
No, I was probably scratching my nose.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, I believe Kath is also here from the college. So welcome, Kath.
Oh, thank you.
And in any case, we have a motion and a second and no further discussion. So I will ask Melissa to call for a vote.
Okay. Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
Aye.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Ringen.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. And if I keep getting bumped out because of an unstable connection, I'm gonna have to ask our vice president to take over, and I apologize. It's very, very frustrating to continue. Okay, Melissa, regular business, please. Would you please read the first item?
Okay, item number 2, consider adopting a resolution approving the request for a variance from Water Rules and Regulations Sections 6.02 and 8.01 and Wastewater Section 3.01 regarding service to 2 non-adjacent parcels, Palladium.
Pardon me, Barbara. It's Jeff Kearns. I'm going to have to recuse myself from this one. We've done work for Mr. Apology.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
So I'll go ahead and leave.
Yeah, Corey will
Give me a Corey, you
notify
have
you
my
when we
phone
get
number,
to this
right?
item.
Text me.
Yes. Thanks,
Okay.
Jeff.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Okay.
Good morning,
Hey.
President.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Just
Yeah, I would just very briefly introduce this item, if it's okay. As you know, it's a variance request. That is a board approved or item, certainly at the board's discretion. We have Antonio Ramirez. He's our engineering services technician. He handles all variance requests, handles all new service connection requests, handles developer agreements. The board has met Antonio before when we had our discussion about the policies and procedures related to variances. And the board will likely in the future be hearing directly from Antonio on all variance requests and developer agreements. So anyway, I just wanted to reintroduce Antonio to the board, and I'll turn this over to him as he gets up and leaves. We planned that very well.
Yeah, sorry about that. People were just starting to talk to me. I didn't have my door closed. Sorry about that. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna do my share screen here. Okay, are you guys able to see a map?
Yes, but I think you might need to maximize your screen size there, Antonio, your window. And yes, we can see that.
Okay.
I think you're fine.
That works?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So I've worked with Ron Apology on these properties in the past. You'll see 2 properties on the right-hand side, the ones with the W's and S's here, and those are already connected. He originally bought this large piece, split it into 4. The first 2 have been connected. But now he's working on these two here on the left, on the west. And you'll see in the street here in Washington Street right away, we have a water main. And over here, this dashed line is the existing sewer main. And so he's looking to get service to these properties, which also abut the Sierra Railroad right away. And in looking at this and in discussing here in the department, we just felt going from Washington Street with a public water main or service laterals just didn't make a lot of sense. There wasn't a lot of usefulness to us. We couldn't potentially loop to the west or to the left. And the same with the sewer. We just felt it made more sense to leave the water meters at the right-of-way line with another bank of meters and the cleanouts along the main that are actually in an existing driveway. So it made more sense that way. And that's what Mr. Apology was also requesting. We do serve properties to the south in similar fashion. I don't have it. Well, I guess I can show you. We've done similar things down here for this parcel, for example. They have a private sewer line here and a private water line. So there is precedence in the area. Again, typically we like to have mains adjacent to a property, just for a matter of, it makes things clear in terms of maintenance and our responsibilities and the owner's maintenance and responsibilities. So, after we kind of learned Apology's his plans, we came up with this solution and thought it made the most sense. And that is why we are here before you requesting the variance. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Corey, are there any questions, or I can't see all the board members? Anybody?
There are no questions at this time.
Director Ringen has his hand up.
Okay.
How do I hear?
Go ahead, Ron.
Thank you. How did these parcels get formed without planning department having already taken in consideration water and sewer for them? I mean, those two in the back there are basically landlocked.
Sure. Yep, great
understand.
question, Ron. First, this is the city within the city limits. The county requires, if this was a county project, the county actually, as a condition, requires that the water and sewer stubs be stubbed to every lot or parcel. The city doesn't have the same requirement. So you'll see on this parcel map, it actually notes on there, which is unusual, that those properties need water and sewer stubbed to them, and they have to work with TUD in order to do so. So it's a difference between how the city approaches splitting properties in the county. So great question.
All right, thank you for that. My other part to this is TUD's responsibility will end at the street there, correct?
Yes, there's a bank of meters, and I can maybe bring in the street view, but there is a bank of meters at the right of way, which is, a good 15 feet off the edge of pavement. And there's 3 meters there now. We'd be adding a 2 more in a similar location. A little further to the left or to the west, there is a sewer main that crosses through a road, the driveway there, and the sewer cleanouts will be roughly at the easement line, which is typically about 7.5 feet off of the sewer main. So
Okay.
they'll be a little bit closer, but within an easement.
Okay, that all that makes perfect sense. So when I read this agenda item, I didn't quite follow the easement situation, but the easement is for the contractor, for the owner of the property, and to get the private lines through the other lots to his properties in the back. So TUD is not going to be involved in any of that, correct?
Correct. The easements that we're talking about, so the property owner here, he's provided a letter, and I've talked to him, and his letter states that he's aware of this project to put these private lines through, and that he's willing to grant an easement to both the property owners for their private water and sewer lines, and allowing them to have those lines there and be able to maintain them in the future. The same situation will need to happen here. So here for parcel 18, they'll need an easement across parcel 20 also. So the easements that are being addressed are private easements that have nothing to do with TUD.
So if there's going to be a sewer spill, TUD would not be held accountable for that, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it all depends upon the nature of the spill and where it occurs. But if the plug or an issue is on the private side, then it would be on the private property owner.
Okay, thank you very much for that information.
Mm-hmm.
Director Boatright has his hand raised next.
Good morning. Antonio, will that 2-inch water lateral be enough to serve 5 meters?
Great question. Yeah, so and we had this is one of the rare cases where we actually had Les, our inspector, model this pipeline to ensure there weren't going to be any issues. Typically we don't, we try to minimize the number of connections on a lateral. And in this case, because the homes are so small, I think none of them are over, I think one's even a 1-bedroom, but they're 2 bedrooms or less. And so, but when Les modeled it, we had plenty of capacity. We've got over 80 PSI of pressure there too. So it was one of the rare cases. That's a great question, one that came up internally too, and we did address it.
Okay. Second question: will TUD have right of inspection on the private sewer lateral to ensure that the 2 lines to the 2 individual properties are constructed as shown on the map?
So you mean beforehand or after the fact?
Well, while they're being constructed, so that we don't have from that 1161 sewer lateral run down to the main.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can it's either going to, generally they should be leaving the pipeline exposed prior to backfilling. And if these lines were put in ahead of time, which oftentimes they are, then we could have them video inspected.
Okay. It just, so that we don't run into problems in the future with common private laterals. And then TUD gets drug into the mix of, well, it's not mine, it's his, and, combination setup.
Right. I think one of the things that I can verify is that they are not a common line. They should be separate as they're shown. So if there is an issue, they should have a separate connection to the main as well, or at least separate cleanouts. So it should be very clear in terms of when there is a plug, whose issue it is. But that is something I'll definitely clarify prior to connection.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Director Murphy has a question next, and then after Director Balin.
And my question is just for my own edification, and that is when looking at things, when you look at the photo of the area, it's clear that there's an elevation gradient, that the properties are higher than where they're connecting into the TUD. And so from that perspective, I'm assuming that there's they'll be installing some sort of pump to get the fresh water there, but just kind of what the precautions and stuff are that are in place to make sure that I guess the fresh water, there's no chance of I don't know what you call it, backflow or something. Anyway, just when dealing with elevations, what are the critical pieces that get put in?
So in this case, there are no pumps, and the water pressure is actually fairly high here, even at the house. It exceeds 80 PSI. So the gravity pressure from our system is feeding to the house at a pretty high pressure. So they actually have to put a pressure reducing valve in. Their sewer connection is a gravity sewer connection. So theoretically, there's no backflow concern here. If they had a private sewer pump, then we would have a backflow. We typically require a backflow device now when there's a private sewer pump, but there is no pumping in this case for any reason, whether it's treated water or sewer. So right now, we're not really seeing an issue that requires a backflow device.
Awesome. Thanks for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Director Balin.
Okay, thank you. These are just clarifying questions, Antonio, because I think I might have missed this and you probably already stated it. So I'm just double checking and making sure that in this resolution, that this is mutually beneficial and this is acceptable to those parties, and that it is not, and it will not burden the ratepayer. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes. And I should have clarified in the beginning that we have no desire to extend public either service laterals or mains into the property, because it's more work for us. And we're accessing private property when we try our best not to do that. But also if you look to the left, you have the railroad right away, and the property to the left or west of that is going to be served in a different way. In other words, we just have no desire and see no need to extend a public main. So that's why we didn't include the participation agreement in this variance request, because we just in the future have no desire to go to the left or to the west. But you're right, Barbara, that this is beneficial to the ratepayer. This puts us in a more desirable location and minimizes our need to access private property, and definitely reduces our maintenance responsibilities.
Okay, and these property owners, this is acceptable to them. This is all workable, correct?
Yes. So the properties involved, the ones that have the gray border around them, are owned by Ron Pology, and he owns the land, and he's also building the homes on them, and he's making the request, so he's definitely involved. The gentleman that lives here, who bought his home that Ron built for him, he submitted a letter saying he's aware of it, and he's agreeable to the project and agreeable to granting an easement. So yeah, he's definitely on board.
Great, thank you for going over that. Probably
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion from the board? Okay, could you please do me a favor and put the board screen, make that big, and undo the shared screen, please?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now I can see everybody. All righty.
Okay.
All right. Great. So let's open this up to the public. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this?
There is no public comment at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I will close the public comment portion of this and bring it back for further discussion or for a motion. And it looks like we're being asked to approve this, the resolution for the variance. Any motion?
I would move that we approve the variance for these properties.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, then Melissa, will you call for the vote, please?
Okay, Director Balin?
Aye.
Director Boatright?
Aye.
Director Kearns?
Recused.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. He recused, I apologize. Director Murphy?
Aye.
Director Ringen?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 4-0 with one recusal.
Okay, thank you. And Melissa, will you call Director Kearns back in, please?
Okay, we are
Or
working on that.
somebody. Okay, well, we'll give it a minute.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, there he is. Great. Thank you, Jeff. All right, so let's go on to the next item. And Melissa, would you be so kind as to read item number 3, I think. Yeah.
Okay, item number 3, board to review and possibly take action to approve the proposed public outreach video series and partnership with Columbia College.
Good morning, board members and members of the public. This is Lisa Westbrook, Community Affairs Specialist with TUD. Just a little background on this item. So back in April 29th, we had a Human Resources External Relations Committee meeting to discuss this idea. And the committee recommended enlisting a Columbia College student to produce educational and informational video segments on a way that we can increase public outreach and more information for the public to understand a little bit more about TUD. And I do apologize if there's background noise because I am in a cubicle. So, and someone's on a phone call. Anyways, just to let you know, there was an attachment. I'm not sure if the board had a chance to review, but there were some different segments that we were just proposing, and there was no direct order on these ideas. We can move them around, but some of the ideas on increasing TUD public outreach included conserving water, my water bill seems high, an overview. A lot of people are confused about the watershed and where the district actually the water comes from up on the South Fork Stanislaus, and how it fills the reservoirs and why that's so important and why people might need to be conserving, all of the relationship of that. History of TUD, information on the Sonora Water Treatment Plant, why it's important, and with the idea that there may be upgrades needed. Stormwater issues, wastewater, and how that works. And how does TUD ensure your water is safe to drink? How does my household water work? So these are just topics. They can change. These are just ideas. And after we had the meeting on the 29th, Director Murphy helped kind of put some ideas on thought on this as well. And so how it formed is I had an idea. Originally, when we started looking at costs, I was trying to think of how we could do a public outreach campaign, but really not have a very expensive for the rate payers and for the district to incur. And so I had a thought of working with a professor at Columbia College, because I knew they had a media design person that, you know, kind of oversaw and taught classes there at the college. So I did want to clarify, it's not really a direct partnership with the college per se, but a partnership with Kath Christensen, who is the design and media professor. And so I kind of outreached to Kath and asked her if she had a student in mind that would want to work with us on this project. And she got back to me and said she did have someone definitely in mind. So we had a conversation with them, Abby Parkon and myself. They were very interested, and I think both of them are energetic and excited about this opportunity to work with the district on increasing our public outreach. And so what we're proposing is actually bringing on Cassandra and having her help put together some of the video segments from filming and editing and producing these topics. And then once they're done, we could put them on the website, social media, and it's going to be kind of an ongoing campaign is what we're proposing. So it'd be $500 per video. And the first one we're proposing is, where does your water come from? Kind of as a start with the watershed, give people an overview of kind of how the system works regarding our water. So that is kind of just a brief summary of the item that is before you right now. And I would be glad to answer any questions. And I did want to comment, we do have the professor from the college, Kath Christensen. She is on board online here. And so she might want to add some comments, as well as Cassandra, who would be the student that we would be working with from Columbia College.
I don't have any comments. This is Kath. I don't have any comments, but I'm pleased to be working with you all. And Cassandra, I will kind of be helping Cassandra as we go along. Cassandra is highly capable, and I think this will be a wonderful opportunity for her. And we thank you all for bringing us into your project.
Thank you, Kath, and thank you, Cassandra. This is great. This is great for you to apply what you've learned and your talents. We're looking forward to it, and actually to do some inspirational outreach to, a whole readership that's getting media in different ways. And I think the vignette thing is an awesome idea. So thank you very much for being interested.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm on mute. Thank you, Lisa Westbrook. And Lisa Murphy, do you have any comments you'd like to add to this?
I just want to thank Kath and Cassandra for being willing to do this. I think it's going to be a real benefit to the community. And I'm really excited to see how you guys progress with this. So that'll be fun. And we're, as part of the outreach committee, we'll be seeing more of each other in the future, I'm sure. So thank you again for your interest and your expertise. We appreciate it. So thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I did notice on the agenda, on the item, it said that staff would prepare the narrative, and I would really hope that we kind of make it a team effort. I guess you could say too many cooks, spoil it, but I think in this case, when you've got, a district archaeologist and interpretive specialist on the committee, we're very excited too. We can't help but go there. This is a whole new level of interpretation and education. So, the committee would be a good part of this process too. So any other comments from the board before I open it up to the public?
Director Boatwright has his hand raised.
Good morning. Just a quick general question. Do we have a minimum or maximum length of the videos?
Well, right now we are proposing 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the topic. Some items are a little bit more difficult or harder to explain to the public, but the whole process is to have them pretty short. We don't really want to go over 5 minutes at this time. People start losing their attention span. I think the shorter the better at this point. So right now, 2 to 5 minutes is what we're proposing.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, David. Any other director? Okay, I have a quick question. Cassandra, are you thinking or about any kind of simple animation as part of any of this mix? Just curious.
Probably like animating maybe words and such we could probably do. I feel like if you combine too many elements, it might get a little bit jumbled. So I think it's up to you guys, but I think a lot of streamline like video of like on the field and talking to specialists and really getting the input might be the best bet. And then, intertwining something a little bit groovy and hip, just to kind of keep the end viewers' attention probably best.
Great. Lisa.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I just forgot what I was going to say. Hang on one second. to Cass and Cassandra. Oh, I just wanted to invite you guys to stay for the part of the meeting. We're going to have our experts for water and our current water situation. I don't know if you looked through the whole agenda, but today it might give you a kind of a little bit of a basic understanding of where we're at right now on the water situation. And I think those will be our experts here giving the, and you can either, if you have time, stick around for that today, or these do go up on video, and you can get to them on the YouTube Live. So if it's not convenient for today, that information will be up there, but it'll be the current water update, which I think might be of interest to both of you.
Thank you. I'll plan to be there.
Does the board have any thoughts about the first segment that we're going to be undertaking? I was proposing doing where does your water come from? And if that is not something you want to do, I was just wondering how that conversation wanted to be, if you wanted another item to start the first series.
I thought depending on when the first video is going to come out, it might be good to do the water conservation one first, just because the timing might be appropriate for the messaging that we need to get out for TUD as well, for people understanding why we need to conserve water and how we conserve water, if that seems reasonable to you guys.
Operations Director Don Perkins had his hand raised, and then Lisa Murphy, if you had further questions. After that, Director Regan.
Yeah, thank you. I had a simple question for Cassandra. Do you have an example, or point me in the direction of an example of a vignette that I could go look at and watch?
I mean, I have stuff that I've done for school. I mean, I would be happy to send those along.
If you can. I was just curious. I don't think I've seen one of these things. Maybe I have, but I'm just curious. Sounds exciting.
Yeah. It's definitely what I've done in class is a little bit different than this, but I think I'm versed enough to kind of get your guys' message out clearly. I think the biggest thing is, like they've said, is just keeping it concise and interesting for all viewers to kind of open up your guys' information to more of the public.
Good, thank you.
Question just in response to that. Oops, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. The order we have Director Ringen, then Director Murphy, and after that, Director Kearns.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, as far as the first one being, where does your water come from? I think it would be real important to tie that into a quick discussion on PG&E, how they own the water rights, and how the water moves down through their system before it gets to our system, and then maybe end it with that being the reason why we are trying to acquire PG&E's facilities and those water rights.
That is a very good point, Director Ringen, that we thought that just giving more of a outreach on public education about TUD itself, we could touch on that when we're discussing the watershed, and we could do an overlay of the map, because we do have that of the system. And then the whole point, I think, of this exercise on the public outreach is to eventually really dive into the PG&E acquisition. So it's more background, I believe, right now at this point, and then we'll get to there talking about the water rights, because that's a little complicated for the public to understand at this point. I think if we could start with a high view and then get down lower, I think that would be a good way to approach this.
Okay,
Director Kearns. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Kearns, and then Director Murphy.
Okay, yeah, I just want to say I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be a good thing, and looking forward to it. I think Cassandra, you got plenty of input here, and what will be the next step Will we, as the board, view these before they go out? Will it just be the HR outreach committee? What's the next step after this first video or the first several videos are produced?
Well, from what we had discussed with Kath Christensen and Cassandra is we would, if the board agrees with actually moving forward with this project, we would have a meeting ourselves in the beginning of June to kind of go through the outline of the first video that we're going to be tackling. And then we would put that together, I would work with them on some scripting, photos, thoughts, and ideas for an outline, and Cassandra. And then after that, we would actually produce the first video segment. And so before we start doing a whole bunch of them, we want to have kind of the same theme and look of them. And then if the board loves it, which I'm hoping they will, then we would continue doing then the next one and so forth.
Okay, thank you.
Director Murphy.
It was just a response to a couple of things. One is in the board packet, you'll see on number 3, overview of the watershed. We do touch on the PG&E. What are the components of the proposed PG&E acquisition to start that conversation as bullet point E under the third one, which was the overview of the watershed. And then Don, I just had a question for you. When you were asking Cassandra for an example of a vignette, the idea came from, there's a lot of organizations out there that have this sort of thing on their website. Would it be helpful, in addition to seeing what Cassandra has done, to for me to send you a link to some other organizations that have kind of similar things out there, so that you get kind of an idea of the format?
Yeah, exactly. It didn't have to be something that Cassandra produced. That would be nice too. But yeah, anything to kind of give me a visual of what this is like would be great. Thank you.
Cool. Cassandra, if you want to do that, you're welcome to, or I'm happy to do that, and maybe I'll send it. If we have Cassandra and Kath's emails, I'll shoot it to all 3 of you guys so that you know what I've sent to Don.
Okay, yeah, you could definitely send that to him, and then yeah, I mean, I don't know if he wants to see any of my work. I'm more than happy to send it. I mean, it's obviously different than what we're proposing here, but yeah, if he wanted to see kind of what I'm capable of. Obviously, like we spoke with Kath, she's going to be getting me a newer device, so it's going to be a lot more clean and crisp, and I'll have better tools basically this time around.
Awesome. But I will go ahead and Lisa, after the meeting, maybe you can shoot me everybody's emails, and I will send you guys some things that are out there that are kind of where we got the idea.
Thank you.
Director Balin.
Yeah, thank you. I can't find the little hand button. I found it once, but I don't know if I can find it again. I switched computers. I'm on the district's Surface Pro, so it's new to me here. But at any rate, yeah, there's so much information to get across in storytelling that it just feels like the visual graphics component is such an important piece of this, and so this is really exciting. And I just have to say, if you haven't seen the cicada one that the Washington Post graphics team put out, that interpreted the whole cicada cycle in a really family-friendly, highly visual way. It's spectacular with minimal text, but it got a tremendous bunch of information consolidated in 1 or 2 minutes. It was just really, really clever, and just so I'm excited about this approach to getting our story out there. And it's complicated, because if we save too much water, if we conserve too much, then we lose revenue, and who are we conserving it for? I mean, it's kind of complicated. So it's really tricky to boil it down to the sauce. Okay, so let's open it up to the public. Any comments, Melissa? or questions?
There is no comments or questions at this time.
Okay, then we'll bring it back. And I think what we are asking is to continue on that the HR committee and outreach, et cetera, and Lisa Westbrook's department is recommending that we continue with this project and producing with the college, or having the college produce one of these vignettes. And I think my other computer shut off, so bear with me while I can get the recommendation is to consider directing staff to hire the student from Columbia to develop and produce a public outreach video series to educate and inform the public on various TUD activities. So that's the recommendation. And I believe that the motion would be to continue partnering with the college in creating these vignettes.
Correction on that, it's we're not, I don't think we're specifically partnering with the college. Is that correct? I'll let Kath respond to that.
Yes, I think it's a partnership with basically with Cassandra, and I will be alongside to help and mentor. But it's not going through the college. I mean, the college is aware. My dean is behind it, but it's not a partner, a formal. That's the word I'm looking for. A formal partnership with the college.
Yeah, so maybe it would be better to phrase it that we're hiring Cassandra, a student at Columbia College.
Yes, as an independent contractor to create these videos. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Kath.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little bit different than what I'm reading here, which is to take action to approve the proposed public outreach video series in partnership with Columbia College. So if that's not correct, then we'll have to revise the motion.
Correct. I'm happy to make a motion.
Abby Parkon has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Abby.
I was just going to thank you for all the clarification. I believe under the recommendation, I believe it is clear. It's recommended that the board discuss and consider directing staff to hire a student from Columbia College to develop and produce a public outreach video series to educate and inform the public on various TUD activities. So I believe that recommended motion would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you. And again, that's what was read. So
yes.
Is there a motion?
What, Lisa? Can I? So two different things were read. The thing that you read said a partnership with Columbia College. The thing that Abby just read did not have that in there. So that what Abby just read, but I can make a simple motion. That's just, I would like to make a motion that the board approves hiring Cassandra, a Columbia College student, to produce videos for TUD, informative videos for TUD at $500 per video. Does more need to be to that motion, or is that good?
Well, that is sort of what was said in fiscal impact. So we're still staying close to the agenda, which is important that we don't stray off of the agenda. So that part's good. But I think we would want to do a not to exceed, let's say not to exceed $2,000, something like that. I see Jeff's hand is up, or is that an applause? Okay.
Yeah. So on it, we have created 8 possibilities of videos at $500 a piece. So on the math on that, that would be $4,000.
Director Kern?
Yeah, I just wanted, maybe I would feel better if the motion had the verbiage in there about to develop and produce a public outreach video series to educate and inform the public on various TUD activities. Would you be okay with adding that, Lisa?
That's, yeah, absolutely. I just couldn't remember the phrasing. I have it on my iPad over here. Sorry, I can pull both things up. So let me make that clear. Sorry, 1 second. Where is that? One moment. I'm sorry for the delay.
Yeah, Lisa, do you have the fiscal?
I'm pulling it up right now. Don Perkins. Where is it? Can you tell me what page of the agenda? I've got the bullet point list up. Is it the page before
19.
that? 19, perfect. Okay, so let's just do the part that's in that then. Jeff, where was that under issue or physical impact, the part you just read?
I was reading from on the summary
Okay.
recommendation, hire a student from Columbia
Great.
College.
Yeah, so, okay. So we recommend that the board direct staff to hire a student from Cassandra, a student from Columbia College, to develop and produce public outreach video series to educate and inform the public on various TUD activities. Is that right? Okay, great.
I'll second that.
I have a clarifying question for Jesse. Is it okay if we actually mention the first name of the student versus just saying a Columbia College student? Because something could happen to Cassandra and Kath would then recommend somebody else, or you know what I mean? If we could just keep it generic, then we wouldn't be boxed in.
Thank you, President Balin. I think it's appropriate in this circumstance to name the student Cassandra, because she will be the one, she's the one here at the board meeting. She's the one that the board has met. And if for some reason she's unable to complete the series, I suspect that Cassandra's professor will recommend a new student. And that student would then need to come before the board and say, I would like to take over where Cassandra left off. I think that's the way I think Cassandra should be named. Thank you. Okay,
great. So you're okay with our hybridized motion here?
Yes, yes. And the way I've understood the motion is you're simply taking the recommendation from the top of the page of the staff report under recommendation. I think that's appropriate.
And putting Cassandra's name in it.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
And then are we putting the not to exceed cost of what was it, 4,000?
I think that's a thing that boxes us in. So right now we have 9. I was wrong. I thought it was 8. We have 9 things listed. So I would feel more comfortable putting not to exceed $5,000 if we're doing a not to exceed, because that would give us the opportunity to do 10 videos if we chose to do that. And Lisa Westbrook and Ron have both also talked in this meeting about having another one that talks about the PG&E acquisition.
Yeah, I'm fine. Jesse.
Yes, I agree with Director Murphy. I think you should do 5,000 because the 9 that are listed in the staff report do not include the first video, which is, quote, where does your water come from? That's recommended in the discussion. So there are actually 10 recommended videos. And there'll be 11 if there'll be an additional one for PG&E.
Well, that's kind of number 3 in a summary instead of lining out every little detail. But I believe Director Murphy and I agree that it's number 3 on the overview of the watershed, just stating it a little bit differently for the public.
Okay. And 5,000 sounds like the appropriate limit.
And if there's a need to revisit that, then we revisit that with a new board agenda item. So that's, I put forth that motion.
And my second still stands.
Okay. Well, okay, so Lisa, you put forth a motion. Okay, got it. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, is there any further discussion from the public?
None at this time.
Okay, so Melissa, would you please call for the roll. Call for the vote.
Okay. Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
Aye.
Director Kern,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Raymond.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. And thank you, Cassandra and Kath, for showing up and joining us. So I think it's going to be exciting. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, Melissa, would you please read item number 4 on the agenda?
Okay, board to hear an update on the water supply.
Yep. Okay, can you hear me? I think I'm it, right? Okay, good. I'm live. Okay, so next is to share screen. And we'll go to, hold on. Okay, can you see the water supply presentation?
No, we cannot, Glenn.
Okay, hold on. Whiteboard. How about now?
Yes, we can see the screen. It is not in full PowerPoint view yet.
Is it now? Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. Sorry about that delay. Okay, so President Balin and TUD Board of Directors, this is a water supply update. I've kind of beefed up this presentation to get a little more detail than we have in the past, and to kind of give the folks a little more inside view of details of some of the information we look for in the water supply. And so each part of the year kind of has a different view. If we were at the end of the year, we would be looking at different parameters. If we were in the middle of winter, we would see different things. And this is an interesting point in our water supply as we are approaching the end of the spring snow melt runoff that we're watching now. So that this supply presentation is kind of taking that kind of a stance. So at this point, what we have is we're near the end. We're really at the end of our precipitation year. The total amount of precipitation is well below normal for the year. The reservoir storage are full or forecasted to fill. So you can't get them more full than full. So it's kind of we're different than the rest of the world, the rest of California, who is in quite a drought. But our water supply is full. We have our own issues that we deal with when the rest of the state doesn't have issues. And we're kind of at that point right now, although conditions are dry, and I'll talk about them. For the season, we are expecting an early end to spill. However, we're not, we can't foretell the future. We can only read the sensors and interpret the data that we have for something that will occur a few weeks from now. We're expecting an early end to spill in this April 10th, April 15th range. But we're just watching. We're watching those conditions. Right now, the water treatment plant production,
Glenn,
is slightly up. Yes, can you hear me?
you said an April 10 spill date. Do you mean June, please?
I'm sorry, June 10th. Thank you. Yeah. So June, that is in a few weeks from now. We're looking. An relatively early end to spill would be anything really before July 1st. And I'll describe those in more details, what early means in that sense. And also just got an update from our water treatment plant superintendent. Our production is up for for April. That's believed to be folks are occupying their vacation homes. So our demand has gone up, we believe, because we have a higher population of people that we're supporting. I'll talk about that. So this is the first slide. We watched the accumulation of the rainfall falling in our area, and we're the black line here is this year compared to this red line. Oh, can you see my cursor? Sorry. How about here?
Yes, we can, Glenn.
Thank you. Okay, so this line is from 2014. So I always try to compare current conditions to past year that we can remember. And of course, 2014 was quite dry, and you can see our accumulated rainfall for this year in the black line. We're really we're below where we were in 2014. Local conditions are dry, and we haven't seen appreciable rainfall since about the middle of March. So conditions in our area are dry, and we could see an increase in some either landscape or garden watering and that sort of thing. Next slide. However, the snow was different. So this line here, this red line on this side, this was the snow buildup in snow water equivalent through this season compared to our existing snowfall. So this actually isn't too bad. Here's normal. So we're below normal and fairly dry, but these snow readings are within a range that the district can tolerate. And although, again, for the state, it's low. This is what we're seeing sort of statewide. But in this case, this tells me the reservoirs are going to fill with a fair amount of certainty. And I'll go to the next slide.
Glenn, Director Ringen has his hand up.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. On that last slide, what we don't know and troubles me, but of course you're the expert, is how much the forest is going to suck up before that snow melt ever gets to the streams and the river.
Yes, yes. So in order to understand that, what we compare is these snow readings to what historically has turned into the snow runoff. And yeah, you're exactly right. There's a difference. And so there could be many different meteorological bits of information that we don't have that we could use to correlate that. So temperatures, atmospheric pressure, winds, soil moisture conditions, and the timing of the runoff. Those we don't know. We don't have that information. If we could sensor the watershed with a few more snow sensors and met stations and that sort of thing, we could have a better idea of what kind of runoff we can get. We just don't know. So we're predicting, and PG&E is thinking the same thing. Okay, this is going to be in an early June 10th, June 15th into spill, but we don't know that for certain. So thanks, Ron. That's a good point.
This is the second dry year, and fortunately we've had pretty much a cool beginning to cool spring and a cool time as we're going into summer. But if it turns really hot, it's going to make a big difference in what amount of water. I believe, this is just simple me, I believe it'll make a big difference in the amount of water that's going to come from that snowpack.
Yeah, the temperatures have been cold. In fact, talking to Eric, I said, yeah, they've started a fire the past few nights, and even in Sonora, we've had cold temperatures. The runoff has actually subsided quite a bit, and predictably, because we know you have with the freezing temperatures, of course, you don't get the runoff. So we're expecting more runoff to occur. And yeah, the hotter the temperatures, then you get more soil absorption and evaporation and that sort of thing. We just don't have sensors to correlate the effect. Even if we put sensors in today, we don't have history on that we can draw on. So there really is going to be uncertainty when in the spill and how much runoff we get. And I think this particular year has caught the state off guard a little bit. They had earlier predictions, and then they turned into lower flows. With that said, another bit of information we look at is not only the lower Relief Valley snow station, which is up near the watershed to Pinecrest. We also
Glenn, President Balin has her hand up.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I just wanted to tag on to that uncertainty. Oakdale Irrigation District has calculated how many acre feet per day it evaporates off of Maloney's. Glenn, would you, I don't want to catch you off guard, but do you kind of have a ballpark of how much, what are the evaporation rates off of Pinecrest and how heat waves affect that evaporation?
Okay, I don't have that immediately available. I've gotten a couple of years of forecast from PG&E, and there is a factor involved with that seepage and evaporation, and I don't have off the top of my head if there's any trends in that. I do know that the strikingly New Maloney's reservoir in a past year in a hot July is upwards of 450 cubic feet per second in just evaporation, for example. So yes, that is a factor. It's known, it's understood, and PG&E has some forecast for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next slide. The one of the things we look at also is a little bit lower level snow. So the lower Relief Valley snow water equivalent, that's primarily what I watch. And you can see in the 2021 readings, these are the actual manual readings. They went up there and did the snow survey relative to past years. So 2014 and 2015, you can see the readings are actually in a region that we can work with. That we've experienced these lower levels, and we know the flow that turns out from those levels. But also a little lower elevation snow station that PG&E monitors and reads, and there's a good history on this station too. We did have an appreciable snow readings at this station. In 2014, I was actually out there with PG&E. It may have been this May reading, I forget. But there was no snow. We couldn't read any snow. So having some reading of snow gives me it tells me, okay, if this year there's that much snow, then we're better than that dry year. So this is just another bit of information that we watch. Another bit of information is coming from the Department of Water Resources. They output what they call the Bulletin 120. And in this case, we monitor the inflow into New Maloney. So it's actually the flow that's at the Goodwin Reservoir that's below Maloney's, and it's considered the inflow into New Maloney's. And in this particular year, in 2021, we're similar to what things were in 2014 and 2015. So that's the kind of forecast that we're looking at in the amount of snow and the amount of runoff that we're expecting. This is sort of the bigger picture outside of our watershed. And then, so from here, from our water supply standpoint, Lyons is still a little bit short of full. We're certainly expecting, because of the cold temperatures, the flow has drawn down. Lyons will come full. Pinecrest is sitting right at full. And so with those reservoirs full, we're set then to go through the summer as we normally do. However, because of dry conditions, we're expecting an early end of spill. just from a bigger picture standpoint, I usually put this out in the water supply update. So the rest of the state, in fact, all of the state, we're in a D3 considered an extreme drought condition. So we're with all of the drought parameters that they look at, things are dry. I think that's overall, that's what we're going to see across California. This is just the 8 to 14 day outlook. So Ron, yeah, you're right. We will probably start seeing a little above normal temperatures in our watershed, and we'll start to see the runoff get going and then into spill in June. So this is just a quick graph I've pulled together. The dark line is a trace from overlaid on the last year. And yeah, we actually have an uptick in the demand here in April. And that's believed to be again from vacation homes that are occupied from folks staying here during the pandemic. And so that's something to watch. Just an overall picture. This is actually coming from our urban water management plan. So the overall draft from the river is down since 2003. Customers have been using water at about 140 gallons per capita per day rate. That's what the state's looking at. Our target was 165. So our customers are actually using water quite efficiently in the last few years. So I have here, I understood we wanted to talk a little bit more about the end of spill. This slide here shows a comparison of the end of spill and lake level at Pinecrest in that year. This is 2018, and this is the actual data. And the end of spill, I believe, is about 6/18, about June 18th. And so we're going to be in that range, or maybe even a little earlier. And so this is, again, just comparing current conditions onto what we can expect in this year. This is the Lions drawdown curve in the dark black line. So we have its storage is on the right, and then the time frame on the x-axis. The green line is this bouncing flow, and then this shows the end of spill. So this is the flow into the reservoir, and then it comes to an end here along about June 18th. And so this kind of is really the pictures that we see when we use the terms end of spill. So this drawdown is normal. This is all of the in-stream uses and TUD uses that will draw lines down through the summer. And in this particular case, it's dropping, it ends up at a low point after Labor Day, about September 20th. And in this case is about 1350. So we dropped below a target of 1500 that we're looking at due to water quality issues. And so this actually happened. This is 2018. At the same time at Pinecrest, and that's what we're watching, is a little early into spill. And this is the unimpaired flow coming in the whole watershed. This is the drawdown curve for Pinecrest. And this line here depicts, this is Labor Day on about September 3rd. And so it fell to about 5608, little above 5608, which is below their desired target of 5610. So we're starting to get into a region where if you get much drier than a year like this, we're going to see both Lions and Pinecrest drop below the sort of targets that we'd like to see. And in this particular case, Labor Day is going to be September 6th. So we can add 2 more days onto this. And if we have an earlier end of spill than June 18th, now we're adding more days at about, it's on the order of 50 acre feet per day drop. So with a simple math, you can see Lions may fall below our 1500, maybe even below this 1350 range before we get to Labor Day. And so that's something that we're watching here. There's enough water in the system, but the reservoirs are going to be dropping low. Lisa.
Just a question. So I know the Pinecrest, the 5608.5 is an elevation. Is the 1350 at Lyons also an elevation, or is that a measurement?
Good question. I'm sorry. I actually go with a storage reading in acre feet at Lyons, and I actually mislabeled it. That should say AF for acre feet. And then at Pinecrest, I usually refer to that in an elevation of feet in elevation. And it's what they're looking at is a 5610 is sort of an ideal elevation that supports recreation at Pinecrest. And as you drop below that, you have less and less water through after Labor Day. The PG&E attempts to hold it at 5610. Natural conditions can drop it below that 5610 elevation at Labor Day. And so again, it's an elevation. Of course, that relates to a storage too, but it's commonly referred to the elevation at Pinecrest. And I normally am working in the storage for volumes when we're at Lyons.
Okay, just to repeat, Lyons is measured in acre feet, and that's water storage measured in acre feet. And then the Pinecrest is an elevation, lake level elevation. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, correct. Of course, they're both measured in both storage and elevation. I refer to them this way because that's how we typically see it. Okay, so that's an in the spill discussion and sort of the issues that we watch for. So an early into spill just adds more days before we get to Labor Day, and then Pinecrest then has all of the storage. In this particular case, there's another 15,000 acre feet of water still sitting in Pinecrest at Labor Day. So there's in this particular case, TUD will then have an allocation of water from Pinecrest that then carries us the rest of the year into the end of the calendar year, and that's what we rely on. But you want to get after Labor Day. So.
Glenn, I have a question.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. Could you please mention something about how PG&E uses Pinecrest to then move the water through from their upper watershed entitlements and water rights through to the Philadelphia? In other words, they're also utilizing the Pinecrest water through the Philadelphia to make power, and how that may affect us or may not affect us.
Okay, so after Labor Day, PG&E then begins to draft water from Pinecrest Reservoir, and they route that water out of Pinecrest to the South Fork Stanislaus River to what they call their Philadelphia diversion. And then they run that at roughly 50 cubic feet per second. This goes to the Spring Gap powerhouse located on the middle fork of the Stanislaus River. It's actually much lower in elevation. So they have what's called an elevation dropper head where they can generate lots of energy. From there, PG&E further uses that same water and generates power at their Stanislaus powerhouse located further downstream on the middle fork. And of course, this is all good green energy generation. Now, so PG&E then drafts that water. Now, as we approach the end of the calendar year, we keep in contact with PG&E because they could be drawing down Pinecrest Reservoir at pretty low levels, where we'd like to see a little more, we'll call it carryover storage. So if we run into the end of that calendar year and there's not been any rain or snow accumulated in the watershed, we're then reliant on what's left over, the small remaining storage in Pinecrest. And then further, as we step into January and February, that's what hit us in 2014. At the end of 2013, we just didn't see any rains or snow develop. not a lot of leftover storage, and that's when we implemented water conservation. And so at that particular year, it was not until near the end of April that we had enough snow accumulated to fill the reservoirs. So it's a pinch point, what we're facing in that particular case. Yes, so that's PG&E drawing water for power generation.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yep. So I have a couple more slides. Eric helped me pull these together. I think it makes a great visual. What's the difference between us and the rest of the state? Well, here's New Maloney's way down. I know I'm hearing stories, people driving by the reservoirs, and this is the storage and water supply sort of in the big rim dams below us. And here's Lyons. It fills. So it's small. The Lyons holds 5,500 acre feet, and Pinecrest holds about 18,000 acre feet. And the watershed yields on the order of 100 to 110,000 acre feet normally. And even in a dry year like this year, it's going to be between 30 or 35 to 40,000 acre feet of water coming from the watershed. And so the reservoirs are filled. I like to say you sneeze and Lyons fills relative to this reservoir. And here's just another shot. Maloney's is down. It's huge, 2.4 million acre feet, and it's gonna, it's big where Lyons is small. So I have a couple more slides that may help describe the end of spill, if you're interested.
Yeah. Hey, Glenn, can you tell me those figures again of, I think you were saying the capacity of Lyons versus New Maloney's?
Yeah. Lyons has a storage, let's call it a storage reading of 5,466 acre feet. And we typically target a minimum of 1,500 acre feet, and it can go below the 1,500 acre feet. But when we have a target, we're targeting, for example, Lyons to what's going to be the low end of Lyons, but we're still 90 days away, so we don't have a perfect crystal ball. So we those are target figures we use in estimating the storage. Yeah. Okay. There you go. I see you on mute.
Oh, no, thank you. I just want to say thanks.
Okay. So yeah, that's all I have. Unless you want to see more on end of spill, or I can answer any questions we have.
I think if you can show us a little bit more on end of spill, that would be great.
I agree.
Okay. So that's a series of two slides, and it's a normal year and a dry year. So in a normal year, what I'm looking at here primarily is a time frame, June 1 to the end of June for a year. This is one whole year time span. The end of spill has a range. So and I'm showing this end of spill June 1 through the end of July. And of course it gets red as you get earlier. And normally we're July 1st or even into August. And so of course, the later that end of spill, the better off we are. And so what happens is during this time period in here, between the end of spill and Labor Day, we get water supply from Lyons. So it's about 4,000 acre feet. So that's the 5,500 nominal minus the 1,500 of storage limit at the end. There's a little more than 4,000, but that's primarily what we live off of. And then in a normal year, we pick up and get water supply from Pinecrest Reservoir from Labor Day to the end of the calendar year in a normal year. And then the flow starts. We get rain and snow that begins to provide flow in the river. And then the river really provides that water supply up until the end of spill again. So we just loop around. And so in that, the storage lines storage graph in a normal year extends out kind of, here are, July 1st, and then it will drop down to near or above this 1,500 acre foot minimum. Actually, we're above the 1,500. It flattens out when we run on Pinecrest Reservoir, and then it bounces right back up and fills as soon as you have rain and snow. So this dotted line is sort of a normal year Lions storage graph. Now, in a dry year, you can kind of see the change where here's a normal year in the spill, whoops, and then now your dry year early into spill. So now we have a longer period of time up to Labor Day. So we'll mostly deplete Lions Reservoir and then need more storage from Pinecrest earlier. And that also goes for a longer period of time. So you notice the amount of water we get from Pinecrest in a dry year is more. And that'll range from really about 0 all the way up to about 8,000 acre feet of water. And that number is based on the formula that was developed between PG&E and TUD years ago. So we have more of a free, it's called a supplemental supply from Pinecrest that carries us all the way through the end of the year. And so in a dry year, like this is a dry year, we have much more allocated free water from Pinecrest to carry us through to the end of the year. And then, as we were describing before, now you want the rain and snow to start at the end of the calendar year, and you watch to make sure we have some storage left over. And then the line storage graph in that dry year is this dark line. So it can dip below this 1,500 acre foot mark. We try to bounce it back up. We run in Strawberry, and then a dry year might carry us below that line at the end of the year. And so these are, if you get earlier and earlier and earlier, we may be dropping much below that 1,500 acre foot mark, and that's what we watch for. And especially if this is in terms of something water supply for the next 25 years.
Director Ringen has his hand raised, and then Director Boatright.
Okay. Director Ringen?
Okay, Glenn, what level is Lions when we run into the poor water condition?
We don't have a perfect reading on that because the district avoids doing that. There would be a risk involved. Now, the reservoir, the low reservoir readings in the wintertime is going to have far less risk because the temperatures are down, and what you want to avoid is an algae bloom or some other sort of stagnant water taste. It's probably going to be more of a taste and odor, but then that can transition to more of a problematic water quality. The reservoir, I've seen pretty low reservoir readings, even below the 1,000 acre foot mark. However, from a planning standpoint, I think the district should maintain and watch it around the 1,500, and there would be a little bit of buffer, but if you're forecasting the reservoir out 90 days, there needs to be some factor of safety.
Thank you.
Okay.
Director Boatright, and then Director Murphy.
Yeah, thank you for the information, Glenn. But I was wondering, is there any past information for the amount of accumulated bottom sediments in Lions? Or indicator that way that 1,500 acre foot mark is getting us closer into a bad zone as far as depth of water, temperature change in the summer and all that?
Yes, the answer is yes. PG&E recently did a bathymetry survey. I say recent, I'm going to guess 2016. And they did downgrade the storage a little bit. So I think we had like 5507 and we're now at 5466. So yeah, there has been a little bit of sediment buildup at the bottom. It doesn't appear to be building up at a fast rate, however.
All right. Do we have any, well, I'm sure there is. What is the depth of the water when we're down to the 1,500 acre foot storage?
What's the depth of water?
Right.
I don't, yeah, there's a gauge reading. So there's a, some elevation for that particular storage. I always work in acre feet at Lyons and elevation Pinecrest. I can get that for you. Like what's the depth of to the bottom sort of thing?
Correct. Where I was going, instead of the actual volume of water stored, would be more how quickly the environment of the water can change. When you're going to go into increased temperatures resulting in the algae blooms or some other water quality degradation.
Yeah, the good questions. That the PG&E has done some extensive studies looking at that, looking at the temperature depth profile actually at with the reservoir, I believe at different elevations, because it of course drops during the summer, and I believe they have some information on that, so they should have a but there's a good bathymetry map for it, and then kind of a depth depending on where you take a depth reading and the reservoir and temperatures of the water, because that can impact water quality. And they've done some studies on that. I can pull those out and make them available to you.
That might be some interesting information. I'd like that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Director Murphy?
Yeah, mine's just real quick. Can you show us the normal year again?
Yes.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, so I think I have these graphics about right. So in a normal year, you're into June, or July 1st, sort of into spill. The 4,000 acre feet easily carries you to Labor Day or after Labor Day, really. And then you have, you draft 2,000 to 3,000 acre feet of water from Pinecrest up to the end of the year. And for me, it's easiest if we get some flow, some rain and snow before Thanksgiving, and then it makes that forecasting a lot easier. Provides a little more certainty that we've got weather patterns and snow accumulating in the watershed.
Director Balin?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Glenn, for really unpacking this.
Okay.
And what, excuse me?
It gets complicated.
Yeah, you're really really watching this, and this really helps because we just have such a responsibility to making our existing customers whole. And I also want to say that I think you've helped me understand the difference between water security and water reliability, and what you're showing us is water reliability. And sometimes, out on the street, people say, well, we have plenty of water. Look at Lyons. We don't need to go after those water rights or that CVP contract, but that is at a level of water security. And so I appreciate you helping me sort of say, yeah, you're really watching this really closely. This is water reliability for the year based on our record. We're coming into drought situation, climate instability, et cetera. But the water security piece is kind of this nice overarching CVP contract and PG&E acquisition. So at any rate, it helps clarify those. it's kind of a false equivalent for someone to say, oh, look, based on this, we have plenty of water, therefore we don't need to go after this. And any rate, you're really helping separate it out. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we go through a couple of pinch points. And so we're there. It's sort of interesting because if we have some percentage of runoff or predicted runoff or some percentage of snow amount in the watershed, we can get to a pretty low percentage of what looks to be very dry conditions that still fill the reservoirs. Basically, it's simple that way. But once they're full, then our supply is met for the year. And so so it may seem weird that well, wait, how come TUD has all this water in a very dry situation? And that's not to say that everybody in the state, as well as our customers, need to pay attention and use water beneficially. Our data shows that the customers are. And so, but at these pinch points, that's what we have to work through, is a limited amount of carryover storage at the end. And then it's been described as, so we kind of live each year as a paycheck to paycheck. So we living below New Maloney's, where Maloney's has, again, that 2.4 million acre feet of water. You can be certain that the water is there in storage and available. In our years, we look at each year to make sure we have enough rain and snow accumulate in the watershed. So that's the yeah, that's what folks should know. Why we got great water supply? Well, each year it resets, and you may hear from us of concerns. Okay.
Okay, Melissa, is there any other comments from the board?
Jeff just indicated his hand is up. Director Kearns.
Great.
Yeah, Glenn. So let's just assume for a second that we were successful in acquiring these water assets from PG&E. How much easier would it make it for TUD to get through those pinch points you described on an annual basis?
Right. The maintaining some a bit more storage at the end of the calendar year provides sort of that reliability level. It would take away the risk a bit, you might say. So if you look out for 1 year, we have about a 16,000 acre foot demand. We need to flow about 16,000 acre feet for a total year out of on the main canal. And so as you roll into the end of the calendar year, there's a few thousand acre feet of storage. So we might have, well, we've had the minimum 3,500 and about 1,500, 3,500 at Pinecrest and about 1,500 at Lyons, with just a few inches of water content in the snow. So we're there with 16,000 acre feet of demand and say 5,000 or 6,000 acre feet of storage. And so we're short quite a bit until it rains and snows. Yeah. So now each cycle, each year, it's always proven to supply that. In that particular case, 1977 is our driest year. So we plan on that. We really plan on it happening each year in the event that it does. And so in each year, we're always better than that. Owning the system will help us manage those reservoirs so that we can maintain, we can manage the reservoirs more for water supply than for power generation. And as soon as we have more certainty that we're getting snow accumulated, then suddenly release more water for power generation. Some balance. I'm kind of thinking off the hand, but yes, that will definitely help that pinch point for sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, Glenn, thanks again. It's just really helped the board get our head around our supply. Good questions, and this is just an informational item only, so I really appreciate the update. And it's now recorded on YouTube, so anybody can refer to it. So yeah, thanks again. All right, and with that, we'll move to, let's see, what we have next. What's our last item? Yeah, item number 5. Melissa, would you please read that item?
Okay, item number 5, operational update on the water and wastewater departments for April 2021.
Good morning, President Balin and board members for TUD. Don Perkins, your operations director, to provide you a brief overview of the operations for April of 2021. Typical spring conditions doesn't usually impose many difficult challenges for us, but so I'll be brief and then I'll be ready for some comments. On page 2, I just wanted to point out that it's a new addition to the ops report. We're starting to show the flows from Jamestown Sanitary District into Quartz Reservoir. Just interesting information I thought ought to be included on the operations report. On page 3, I just want to point out that there's some good progress being made on some of our critical CIP projects. On page 8, also it's a new entry. I think this is the second month, but I wanted to point out on the types of meters that we have out there, manual read versus auto read. So we're about 60% radio reads and 40% manual reads. And if you compare that number from last month, we're up 132 meters that are now, they were manual and now auto read. So the distribution department has really stepped up their game here recently and installed a bunch of new meters for us. That just really helps out our efficiencies. Page 12, I wanted to show you that our construction crews completed work on a catwalk that was installed at the Columbia Water Treatment Plant. That really aids in the maintenance and operations of those units. They're elevated off the floor significantly, so they pose a potential fall protection. So this provides the operator real safety measures in their cleaning and maintaining those units. On page 15, I wanted to recognize Angel Tarango. She's our regulatory compliance specialist. She works under Trevor Cowden, the water treatment superintendent, and she obtained her T4 water treatment certification. We're really proud of her for that. And then on page 15, just as you can see, it's going to get to the warm season. I just want to remind everybody that we have a pretty stellar safety program, and we're working on, among other things, our heat and illness awareness. So with that, if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them.
Director Kearns has a question.
Yeah, Dawn, on back to those meters, you said we converted 132. So on the change out there on page 8, change out meters 143. So that included those 132, I assume. And so then you had 11 of them or whatever that you just changed out because they failed or whatever.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, so how are those working out? Are we getting good life out of those radio reads so far? Are they meeting expectations?
I think for me, this answer might be different between who you talk to, but for me, the answer is no, we're not getting long life. We're not getting 30 years out of them. If we get 10 years, we're feeling pretty good. But the efficiencies that it's providing us and our ratepayers for cost savings is immense. So if you used to get 30 years and now you get 10, the cost savings is remarkable.
Yeah, I agree. And the capability to run reports and find leaks and everything else is vastly superior. All right, that's all I got. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Director Ringen.
Thank you. Okay, Don. Looking at the amount of effluent or water in Quartz, for this year. Are we going to be able to take care of our ranchers?
We
And
should
all
be
our
able to. Yeah, we should be able to. Yes, you know, like everywhere else, the water levels are down, the storage levels are down. We'll have a near normal delivery, but not a completely normal delivery. I think our ranchers will be pretty satisfied with the amount of water they're going to get this year.
Great. Then on page 6, it has a bunch of figures on raw water, and it says ditch turn on 38. Those aren't new customers, are they?
No, those are people who are requesting to be turned on. They were turned off after the irrigation season, and now that the irrigation season is commenced, they're asking to be turned on.
Okay, that makes sense. And then on page 12, you were talking about that catwalk, and I was looking at that appears to be welded steel, and our crew did that.
That is not welded steel. That is fiber grade. So it's some sort of a plastic material, high density plastic material. But yes, our crews can fabricate welded steel. They've done things like this out on a smaller scale at regional treatment plant many years ago. So yes, that's fiber grade.
Huh. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from the board?
I just have a question on wastewater, and this can be answered by Don or by perhaps David, I'm not sure. But just how does drought or how does conservation impact kind of the inflow into Quartz Reservoir, into the water treatment, the water sewage treatment plant, and then that outflow from the water sewage treatment into Quartz Reservoir? How is, and then that then getting out to the spray fields for the ranchers, how is that affected by conservation? Just again, just for me to know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Director Boatwright can answer this wholeheartedly. It's amazing what impact it truly does, not just onto the treatment plant and the reclamation system, but the collection system. So Director Boatwright, do you want to take a stab at it?
Sure. Water conservation, you know, what I've found is people have a tendency to maximize their conservation inside their house. Our wastewater that we treat comes from all of the water that we use inside our house, all our drains, laundry facilities, and so on. What it also does is, because the collection system's a hydraulically driven or gravity system, when you reduce the amount of water in the pipes, you reduce the power, you know, to drive what we want to remove from the wastewater to the treatment plant. So certainly in the collection system, we see a lot more material left behind as water's not pushing it all the way to the treatment plant. At the treatment plant itself, you're dealing with a more concentrated waste product. So the treatment plant works a lot more sluggish, and you have to regenerate a lot more of your recirculation flows to kind of dilute and push everything along in through. Certainly as we go out into the reclamations, conservation directly reduces the amount of water available for recycled use. And this year in particular, with the low amount of rainfall, although in the last 5 years or so, TUD has taken on a massive amount of I&I reduction, which is inflow and infiltration into the collection system. And by reducing that, there's a lot less stormwater effect on the regional plant and into the recycled water as well too. All of these things are massive subjects worth hours of education talking about. So right?
Thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome.
Any other comments from the board? Okay.
Just one more clarification on what David and Don have covered. When we go into conservation in the district, how do we sort of make sure that we maintain enough water going through basically through the houses to make sure that the sewage system continues to work as it is designed to work?
I'll give that a shot, Director Murphy. So when we ask for conservation, we don't get specific on where. Well, that's not true. We do recommend that we reduce outside watering, hosing off of hard pavements and things of that nature. We don't specifically request inside extra use or anything like that, but it's just natural. People, I think what Director Boatwright was talking about, people would naturally want to save if they're going to save some water, they can save it on the inside so they can give it to their plants or something along those lines. So we're really at the mercy of, if due to drought conditions, water restrictions, it causes problems in the collection system, we're just at the mercy. You have to go out there and maintain it manually.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. We also, Rich Pitcher heads up the collections department. It also increases the amount of maintenance needed out in our collection system. The guys have literally pages of hotspot checklists and routine flushing that is repeated on a monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, annual basis to stay up with different segments in the collection system. So they have to operate it with manpower a little bit more during extreme droughts or conservation periods. They just have to watch it a lot closer. Otherwise, if the solids build up, it results in a sanitary sewer overflow.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Abby Parkon has her hand raised.
Thank you, Michaela. President Balin, I would like to read a letter that was written by one of our customers that I sent the board, and it's related to the operations department. So is now an appropriate time for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, excellent. Okay, well, board members, Mrs. Carmelita Fleck of Sonora gave me permission to share this letter with the public and name her as the customer that wrote this nice handwritten letter that I shared with the board via email a couple of days ago. The letter reads, "Dear Mr. Pitcher," so that is Rich Pitcher, our collection superintendent. "I felt as if you needed to hear other than complaints, and so I am wanting to compliment TUD through you on your hiring practices. Someone responsible for that is doing everything right. Anytime we have called for help, the response time has been almost immediate. That is very welcome when one is experiencing backup. Your workmen have always been gracious, helpful, and caring. On Monday, when I called wanting to know the direction in which our sewer line ran, you sent Andrew Johnson and Ben Peterson. I was full of questions for them because I very recently had my husband, who took care of the sewer issues, succumb to lymphoma. They were extremely polite and explained everything to me with great patience. I've studied the little brochure they gave me and now have a much better understanding of it and the way our system in the neighborhood is set up. Thanks for your hiring of top-notch people. Yours truly, Carmelita J. Fleck." So I thought that was a very sweet letter. She took a lot of time to handwrite that note that we received in the office last week. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Don and his crews on doing a wonderful job and making us proud here at TUD. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby,
Thanks,
for
Abby.
taking the time to read that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for recognizing those guys. It's great. And thank you to the person that took the time to write. Okay, so with that, we will move to, that's just to go over this. Don's Director's Operations report was for information only. So with that, if there's no other comments, we will move on to Director's reports or staff reports first. So who would like to go first?
Eric Johnson has his hand raised.
Yeah.
All right, very good. I'll be brief. This has been a nice meeting. It's got some good flow, so I won't take up too much time. Just a couple things. We heard about the water supply today, and I want to remind the board that the Urban Water Management Plan has been released for public comment, and the board should have received a link to download that document from our website. It's large, 300 plus pages, and as you can imagine, it will take some time to go through. I know it's agendized for our June 8th board meeting, so I just want to give you guys advance notice that that's available for you. Also, zoning change for Sierra Pines is on the Board of Supervisors agenda for next week. And if you do see that as you review agendas, just bear in mind we are planning on rezoning that property to public, which will allow us to go through the permitting process a little easier for that project if we ever move to construction. I think Steve will address coming up the regional wastewater treatment plant, but I just wanted the board to know that we moved the bid opening date back from June 1st to June 7th, a little less than a week. We're still hoping that by the end of June, we will have all the approvals to come before your board with a request to consider awarding the contract to the low bidder, whoever that will be. And Melissa's been coordinating with you folks on a date at the end of the month to do that. And then very lastly, I just want to recognize Michaela as moderating, doing a great job moderating the meeting today. And she's getting trained up by Corey so that we'll have a backup here. And so Corey can take a vacation at some point that's long overdue. So you will also hear Michaela's voice on the June 8th board meeting. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Go ahead, Director Rand.
Yes.
Eric, that letter that TUD received from the neighbor of Sierra Pines, is that going to give us any grief on this getting that change made?
The letter you're referring to is a gentleman I have and Michaela have personally met with on site who lives adjacent to Sierra Pines, who had some concerns about potential parking lot location. And he's a very reasonable man. And I don't think that his concerns will jeopardize the project in any way. We've already proposed a solution that he was very happy with. It's just, until we get farther along in the design process, the board won't be able to see the modified site layout with some of the changes involved, but it certainly does not impact the zoning change.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Steve has his hand raised next.
I'll jump in. Good morning, all. Steve Sheffield, your finance director. Eric alluded to it. You know, the USDA process is never out of our mind. It seems almost daily something comes up. Eric's talking to the engineers. I'm talking to the finance people. We're talking to the interim investment firm, the bond counsel. So as I've reminded the board each meeting, as we get closer, there will be more and more activity that will require board action. Numerous resolutions, the interim financing. So again, Eric mentioned the date got moved from the 1st to the 8th or the 7th, I guess it is. And we did have a scheduled meeting with the investment firm for Thursday. That looks like it's getting moved to next week, but I just wanted to continue to remind you that this is in the works, on track as originally outlined and planned. We're at this point waiting for the bids to formalize the actual amount of the interim financing, the timing of the issuance of it, and where that goes. But again, I just don't want any board member to be surprised when we get there, because this is coming, and as soon as we get the bids and hopefully able to accept one of those bids, then more will come. So that's all I have for the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, real quick, I just wanted to also quickly mention that we just recently successfully maneuvered through an unprecedented spring ditch outage, main canal outage. Trevor Cowden and Eric Hall both did a great job leading us through that. It did not go without hiccups, as they seldom ever do go without something. To start off with, we had an unknown power outage that caused us grief on the eve of the outage. And then up in the upper basin system, we had PG contractors break a couple of lines that also gave us some challenges. But we made it through and I'm really proud of our guys. So thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Don. Abby, do you have anything more to add in staff reports?
Yes, thank you, President Balin. I did want to update the board on the 2021 CAL FIRE California Climate Investments CCI grant for fire prevention that the board authorized staff to apply for back at its April 13th meeting. Staff submitted the grant application on May 14th. The TUD Critical District Facilities Fuel Reduction Project is for hazardous fuels reduction treatment of approximately 59 acres at 8 water treatment facilities and the Twain Harte Wastewater Treatment Facility. So during that board meeting, Director Boatwright suggested that we look at fuels reduction around that, and we did resurrect the 2020 grant application, but we were able to do some investigation and add the Twain Harte Wastewater Treatment Plant fuels reduction to that project scope. And the total funding request is about $320,000. We should hear back from CAL FIRE within the next couple of months if we receive the funding. So we'll keep the board updated on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other directors have anything to share?
Director Ringen has his hand raised.
Okay, on 5/12, I attended and participated in the Tuolumne County Natural Resource Committee meeting. More of the fire safe meeting talk was pretty much the main point of that meeting. On 5/14, attended the California Natural Resources Agency meeting, stakeholder webinar. This we should make sure and keep our eyes on. This is proposed climate and wildlife investments, $100 billion of Governor Newsom's California comeback plan, and 30 by 30, 30 by 30. Speaking was also Secretary Crowfoot. The bottom line in this is they're looking for 30% of California land and oceanfront, or area along the ocean at the coast to be set aside. And I don't know how in the world that's going to occur. And then on 5/20, attended and participated in the TUD Water Committee meeting, but I'll let Barbara Balin, our president, fill you in on that. Thank you.
Director Kearns?
Yeah, on May 13th, I attended the Tuolumne County Association's LGR committee, which is their, for lack of better terms, their political action committee. They wanted a little TUD update. On the 20th, I too attended just attended the water committee meeting for TUD. And then Friday, the 21st, I attended an all-day webinar put on by the State Water Resources Control Board regarding post-1914 water right holders, which I am with my little water system. And it was all based on what we can expect regarding curtailments, which was very interesting, and which doesn't affect TUD, thank goodness, but it affects other water right holders up and down the state. And it was very interesting. So if anybody would like to talk about that offline, I'd be happy to. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Director Murphy?
I just will report back on the outreach committee meeting that we did. And that was relating to the video series that we talked about earlier, and just kind of getting a little bit more into the planning part of that. So thank you to Abby and Lisa Westbrook for all the work that you guys have done on thinking about that and getting that going. So well done on that. And then we've been, for the HR component, working with Abby on the specifics of the interim general manager process.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, let me see. Director Boatwright.
I have no formal reports at this time.
Okay. So yeah, our HR committee, I think I had to leave, and so then the item for the information outreach for the PG&E acquisition was tabled. And what I think might be a really good idea, since we have so many of our board members very, very interested in the in that outreach campaign, it would be great to bring that to the full board for discussion. So would that be okay with you, Director Murphy, if we did that?
As a workshop?
Well, as an agenda item for full board participation, rather than just you and me, and then the other board members are sitting silently in the committee. Seems like there's enough interest to bring it before the whole board.
Absolutely, but it might be something that we wanted to do more of a workshop on.
Okay, but as long as it's full board, I guess that's what I'm asking. Yeah. Sure. And workshop, I'm okay. Haven't thought of that.
Everybody involved sounds like a great idea.
Yeah,
maybe good. An agenda item, just because there's a lot to it.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of idea generating directors too. So, okay, let's see, it was last Friday, Mountain Counties, we actually met in person up in Amador, and that was great. We have a 9-member board, and we've got very experienced group of directors, and they are all electeds, and I believe there's 5 that are supervisors, and then 4 that are from water agencies. And so we were very happy to all meet together, and we'd all been vaxxed, and so that was really great. And so we were able to welcome in our new interim director, Jim Branham, who came live from Sierra Nevada Conservancy, and as many of you know, he has a great record in CAL FIRE. Before that, he's had a career in fire. So we discussed our membership is very stable, and people are really anxious for us to do a kickoff program, which we're really famous for our educational panels that we bring in legislators from all over the state, and it's a really good time to network. And so we're looking at something maybe in August that we can have. The facility hasn't been determined yet. So at any rate, we're excited to do something like that. We talked about, we have our 501c6, which does allow us to do some grant writing, but we've recognized that there's a lot of disadvantaged communities that don't take advantage of, like what Ron Ringen was saying, the 30 by 30, which is a lot of watershed restoration type grants. And so we wanted to be able to get our 501c3 so that we can be kind of take a look at some of these initiatives that are coming out. And so that's something that we're working on. And then also one of our favorite conversations is why the mountain counties, which we're so good at, we're using water efficiently, that when it comes to conservation, it's very, very different than our coastal districts, our coastal areas. And so we always kind of grouse about that because, you know, poor Twain Harte, they don't have any lawns. And so when the conservation of indoor water is really, really tough when all the executive orders for the state are written for the coastal communities to conserve, washing down their sidewalks and their cars and et cetera. And so any rate, it would be a really good, like Director Boatwright said, the discussion between efficiency and conservation, they are two different things. And we're really darn efficient up here and, and close to being, going into water rationing. So at any rate, that will always come up in a mountain county's water committee meeting. So with the, I just wanted to say with our water committee, I can't find my agenda, Ron. I think you were the chair of that committee. I don't want to put you back on the spot, but I wasn't prepared to comment on the water committee. So I can help you out, but I don't have my notes in front of me. I apologize.
Yikes. I'm not going to be of any help. I didn't prepare for that at all because I figured you'd be taking it on because you're the chairman.
Oh, okay. Well, then why don't we do this? We will let that go and then I promise we will report on that at our next board meeting.
Yeah, because we did cover some important things, as I recall.
Right. Well, I can't go over to my kitchen table and find it. So I'm sorry. Okay, but we will report on it because it's important for the public to know what we discussed in that meeting. And it's also been recorded on YouTube as well. And so, Michaela, I also want to apologize because my voice recognition is not the best. So if I called you Melissa a bunch of times, I apologize. And I'm really glad that you're taking over some of Corey's responsibilities. It's really quite a job. So thank you. And was that you that put that flag up too?
Yes, I did, with Corey's help.
Okay, great. Good. Thank you. Okay, is there anything else from the directors? Okay. Anything else from the public?
None at this time.
Oops. Okay, thank you, Michaela. So with that, we will adjourn the public portion of this meeting and we will go into closed session and I request a 5-minute break. And so we'll go into the breakout room and then have a 5-minute break.
Okay, Director Balin, I'm going to be moving all the board members.
Director Bailey, we need to read the closed session item.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa. I've got it. Okay. Okay, so item 6, closed session, public employee appointment, title interim general manager.
And we should see if there are, President Balin, we should see if there are any public comments on this item before the board goes into closed session.
Thank you. And with that, is there any public comment before we go into closed session?
No, there is no public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you.
So President Balin, I will be moving the board members and Jesse Barton into the closed session room unless directed otherwise, or have additional members, please share those with me.
Okay, thank you.
And then close room.
Did I switch into the correct meeting?
Yes, you did. We're now back in the public session. I'm going to wait for, make sure everybody's here. Okay, I think we're here. Okay, so we will now convene the meeting back into the public session. And I'm here to say that there is no reportable action that the board took, and concludes the public portion of this meeting, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.
See y'all. Have fun, Lisa.
Yeah, definitely.
Good afternoon.
Okay, thanks.